Hi, I am Jessie Allender, professional chef and registered dietitian and mom, home during this COVID-19 lockdown here in Chicago. It's past mid-May. I think it's the 18th today. I know it's Monday. We had a great day of distance learning, and my kids are doing great today. You know, great as in not everything was a total fiasco. Uh, but we did good. And I was just coming on here today to talk about how I manage my kitchen and what I do in order to manage it. And so one of the things I use a lot in my cooking is herbs. I came to know cooking through a whole bunch of watching cooking videos, cooking shows, starting with Julia Child and Jack Pepin and the Frugal Gourmet and the Galloping Gourmet, and then then he switched to dieting, which helped to pique my interest in nutrition. I learned a lot from all of them watching those shows from like third grade and second grade. I don't know when I started watching, but I just always loved them on PBS. And I loved the other shows that came on the other channels later when cooking shows became all the rage. There was one though, I mean, I'm always, I sit there and yell at the TV just like any other self-respecting American, like Archie Bunker. Or not self-respecting, right? When there was one show I think in the '90s, it got its foothold, where they featured 30-minute meals, and I always got really frustrated because a lot of the background information about, like, in the fridge the celery was already cleaned and the onions were already capped and the things were ready to go, and that takes a lot of time. Doing all that grocery shopping takes a lot of time. Stocking the pantry with the staples you need for the recipes you're making takes a lot of time and planning and thought, and we should think about those things. I mean, I certainly cannot pull off a meal in 20 minutes with my 15 years of professional cooking experience, including having gone to chef school in the 90s, back then, way back then. I've spent this past 15 years as a registered dietitian, and the last 8 years as a mom. Cooking not just for myself, making fancy dinners, but making, foods for my kids that they'll eat, from their first foods to their only foods, to their adventurous foods, to learning how to cook with them and how they cooked. My littlest made blueberry pancakes today, and we did double protein, double egg pancakes, and they ate them up. It was awesome. He mixed the batter, he did all the measuring, with a lot of assistance. He's 4. It was great. Anyway, yesterday I put a recipe up here that you can check out. You can click down below on some of my other videos, and please feel free to hit subscribe to catch the new ones that come up. But I made like an Italian sausage seasoned roast chicken. But when I went to my spice cabinet, I was out of oregano. Oh no! Well, today I got a grocery order into Hyde Park Produce. Thank you very much, Hyde Park Produce. You are amazing over there on 53rd and Kimbark. Great, tiny little store. And I call up and somebody answers the phone, and they call me back, and I speak to a person who handwrites my order on a piece of yellow paper, and then it comes delivered to my door by a guy. I don't know his name, and he's a sweet guy, and I see him every time I go in there. He's like in the produce, putting the lettuce out, or the potatoes, or stocking the shelves, or doing other things, and he was making deliveries today. So it was nice to see a familiar face. It was really nice and friendly, and I hope you have something like that in your neighborhood, and if you don't, I welcome you to create it. But anyway, I was out of oregano, so I bought some oregano. But it's not what you maybe think is a jar. No, it's a big, giant bunch of oregano. Oregano, I believe, is an evergreen. Somebody can correct me. Y'all can Google it up. There it is, nice and close. That's what oregano looks like when it's fresh. It smells just a little bit minty. It smells like oregano. It's delicious. So what do I do with all this oregano? Well, I'm going to dry it. This incredible bunch of oregano. Now, I could squeeze it, and I can feel the moisture in it when I squeeze it. I don't want to do that. Was $3.50. It's not organic. It might be, but it's not sold that way. And I don't know, a jar of oregano, dried oregano that doesn't have quite the scent to it, or even really high quality oregano, between $1.50 and $4.50. You can find it dried in a plastic bag, maybe in a Hispanic grocery store here in Chicago. They have that sometimes, and that's a pretty high quality dried oregano. But I prefer, when I can, to get my herbs fresh and dry them. And it's really should not be an intimidating process, and it's something you can certainly do. And here we go. I'm matching all my stems. It's not essential that you match your stems, but it helps later when you're peeling the leaves off of the herbs when they're dry. And I might, save a stem or two. I have a steak in the fridge, and I might put this in the pan the way I see Gordon Ramsay do it, because I've not tried that before, and I think that's an interesting way to impart flavor. But the other thing that I can do is I can wait, not for that steak, because that steak's getting et tomorrow. But when I do trim these off the sticks, I save the sticks, and I'll show you that in a subsequent video. So another reason to hit that red subscribe button, because then I can put the sticks under a roast and use them as a roast bone, just like I did those pineapple bones the other day with my other chicken that I made. But I like to get all the ends together. There we go. And at the moment, my kitchen is superb for drying herbs. If you live in the Southeast, drying herbs is not easy, because when I lived in Atlanta, I did not try to dry my herbs. I mean, my air conditioning was on all the time, but it was hard to get towels to dry. My plants never needed to get watered, and my herbs never ever dried. So once you get it, what you want to do is grab your string. I like to tighten it around one finger, and then really, really pull hard to get it nice, because it's going to lose a lot of volume when it loses moisture. So you want that string around there really nice and tight. I'm just going to tie up the end, and if Todd or Pam, don't hate me if I've forgotten all my knots from sailing. But I'm just going to get a square knot in here. There we go. Half of it anyway. Get that tied nice and tight. And then I'm going to hang it up, and I'm going to let it stay until I forget about it for a little while. Let's see where that is. I think we can see it. I have a pretty perfect setup for this because I live in a basement. Sometimes you got to find the light where it is. I've got a string all ready to go. I've got this tied, and then I'm going to tie it again. There we go. Oh, almost dropping it. Good. Saved the day. It looks like a witch's house. There it goes. Up above my head. Oh, how am I going to tie it off? I didn't think about that. You're going to come back down on me. Yay! So, it's going to be a stretch. But I got my little library stool. Yay! Oh, there's always one missed stitch, right? There we go. So, it could take anywhere from a week, 2 weeks, a fortnight, depending. Nice little slip knot. It's going to smell my house up. I'm going to be able to smell that when I walk in here. Not over the coffee, but sometimes. And it's going to dry. And then I'm going to have oregano. And for that $3.50, I'm probably going to get 4 spice jars full. But we'll find out. Wait and see. Can't wait to see you next time. Thank you to everyone out there for making videos to entertain everybody, to taking care of us in hospitals in every single different way. So many people in hospitals that are unappreciated. One memory I'll share with you, because I'm so grateful for the custodial staff in hospitals. When my oldest son was in the hospital for a long time, he one time I was there when they were changing the garbage cans, and they did this like every hour. They changed the garbage bags, and he came by and he shook the bag, and it scared my baby. He was about 11 months old at the time, and it woke him up out of his nap, and I was like, oh no. And I said to him, would you mind when you open the bag, could you always do it quietly? And every time I saw that particular individual, he always made an absolute point of not only being quiet, like shaking the bags out like down the hall, but away from like everybody's rooms, because we had both had a learning moment. And I'm forever grateful for all the naps that he protected, and for all of the custodial staff in the hospitals who are the backbone of everything. They make things happen. Thank you so much to everybody out there who's a first responder. Have a wonderful, safe, and lovely night. And if you're in a place that's reopening, please stay safe. Take care, everyone. Good night.